My body is it. All right. Hello, everyone. I am Alex Lamelli, also known as Lamelli underscore 18, and my co-host here is. Go ahead, Overmaster. Introduce yourself here.
My name's Sean Campbell, and I'm the Overmaster on Twitch.
Yeah. So today, so just to give you guys a brief overview of what the show is all about. So we're basically going to be highlighting big things that have changed throughout the Eternal game. So new cards, new sets, um, ETS. What's called standing. So if you're not sure what ETS is, that is the Eternal Tournament Series run by RNG. So yeah, if you guys are interested in any what's it called playing in those tournaments, here's a link to the website right there, so you guys could click on that. And there's also great articles there as well, so which is pretty nice. But so we have a few segments that we're going to go through today, and our first one is patching up the past. So basically, we're going to go over the three main rares that were introduced to Eternal that were their pre-wipe. So this is post-wipe new rares. So Felon Cauldron, Cabal Countess, and the Vault of the Praxis. So there was a great article on RNG Eternal as well. That if you guys are interested in checking it out, by Neon Eternal. There's two parts to the what's it called to the article, which is great. So if you guys want to check that out, feel free. But all right, Overmaster. Technical difficulties. Sorry about that. Sorry guys, this is brand new coming at you. So, yeah. So the
Hey,
first card we're gonna be talking about is Felon Cauldron. All right. So if you guys don't know what Felon Cauldron is, it's a 3 power card, Primal Shadow. Once per turn, you may discard a card to gain 1 health, and after 5 cards, you sacrifice Felon Cauldron to draw 5 spells. So, go ahead, Overmaster, start us off here.
all right. So the first thing you have to understand about Film Cauldron is that it's a little bit random. I uh, I came up with a list of cards that you could get off of it, and a list of cards that you could that are really good that you could get off with it, and cards that are really bad you can get off it. And there are far more cards that are really bad than really good you can get off of it. For example, things that you can get off of that are really good are Flame Blast, Torch, Piercing Shot, basically any removal spell. Stuff like Scouting Party and whatnot. You can even get stuff like Witching Hour off of it, which is a uh, probably a really low cost at the end. Um, there are a few things that to note about Felden Cauldron is that the fact that when you discard the card, it's a free discard. You do not have to pay for it, which is actually an extremely big deal. That is an extremely big deal. Um, any other card in Eternal either has you pay pay a power for it, for example, like Blind Storyteller or Herald Song, or for example, you have to attack with it, like Whispering Wind. And um, while Whispering Wind is kind of a uh, free discard, you cannot actually attack if they have, for example, like a Valkyrie Enforcer in play. So, um, Felon Cauldron is actually a huge deal
So,
for Scream decks and Reanimator decks, I think.
so
But beyond that, I don't think the card is that good. You're gonna get about one random spell off of it that is good, and four random spells that are only okay in certain situations, and so some of them are just extremely bad. Go ahead though.
yeah, so you think it's only like fringe playable, like at most, like only in specific strategies, like because there have been some lists that's been going around, just thrown like 3 or 4 of them thrown into straight felon decks, which I think is kind of cool because like it gives you a little bit of inevitability, like you're discarding your bad removal. So for instance, like what I've seen on many streams and also that I've done with because I was able to open one of. Last week, and I was playing it against Icaria Blue. So in the Icaria Blue matchups, you don't really want like lightning storms in your hand. So you're able to get rid of like the lightning storms and like say like vanquishes or not, sorry, not vanquishes, but like excess land or power that you have in your hand that is just sitting there that you don't really need anymore because you're already at like 10 mana. So like you don't see it as an effective like actually like get more card later like in regular control decks in multiple matchups.
That is true. You do you do have to discard quite a few cards in, for example, like a control on control matchup where there's not a lot of units flying around. So and you have a bunch of removal spells like Akaria Blue has. You don't generally have a lot against Akaria Blue. You don't generally need a lot of removal. You just need two usually to deal with their Akaria, and that's it,
Yeah, to break the
right?
Aegis and then to hit her directly, which is nice. But I feel like the major downplay of this card, though, personally, is that you get random spells. You get just any random spells that is in Eternal you can get in your hand. So, um, but do you think it would be better if it was Felon cards, like either part Primal or part Shadow, or the combination, kind of like Seraph's Ultimate for Combri?
Uh, that would be an interesting adjustment to it. I originally thought it was actually five random spells from your deck, which would be great,
That
right?
would be
That
pretty
would
insane, right?
it might have to be costed for at that point, but I don't think it would be too insane if you adjusted the cost, right? I think that there's just too many spells right now in Eternal that it's just it's just too hard to
Like a
get good cards out of it, right?
like a
You
bunch of
get
like.
Accelerate, you get an Accelerate and a Oasis Sanctuary, and you're just not looking pretty, right?
But what if you need to accelerate your, was it Black Sky Harbinger to get that 3 life steal real fast to stay alive, huh?
You can find uses for cards in this situation, right?
But
um,
how do you think of it as like you're playing multiples of this card? Like, what if you're like, and if you're gonna play Felon Cauldron, what if you only like you have to play 4 of? So the bad cards that you get off the first one, you start discarding to the next one. Like, what do you think about that? Like, is that just too much investment, or is that like, um, too time consuming? I guess like because that is a lot of turns. Like, if you're only doing it once per turn, like, what do you think about that?
um, so what was your question? Sorry.
So
Um,
yeah. So basically, what I'm saying is that like I feel that maybe it might be good in like control decks like in general, but you might have to play multiple of them because say like once you get the 5 cards off of the first one, some of those cards you can say that are going to be useless, correct?
yeah,
um, that you could start discarding them to the second one that you have in play.
that's true. That is true. If you have two active, or well, not two active, you can only discard to one. But if you can get two lots of five random spells in your deck, that might break. It's basically a mirror breaker in Felon Control, right? But I just don't think it's strong enough. I just don't think it's strong enough to warrant play even in Felon Control, right? I just don't think it's strong enough. It might be good enough in Haunting Scream decks and Reanimator decks, as well as perhaps maybe some sort of Strength of the Pack deck, in order to discard cards without the cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just without the cost. You have to pay two for a blind storyteller or like a herald song or something like that, right? Or attack with the whispering wind, and whispering wind is just incredible, but sometimes there's you block, right?
Yeah. So okay, so outside like
Darth Luke. Yeah,
uh,
there are certain situations that gaining what is it 5 life or 6 life is pretty nice, but I don't know. Yeah.
so just to the crowd out there, like to all the viewers, so the Overmaster, if someone asked you what deck I should play Felon Cauldron, what would you say? Don't play the card at all? Play in every Felon deck, or only specific ones? And if so, which ones?
I think a two of in Reanimator or Haunting Scream decks would probably be the only time I would ever want to see a Felon Cauldron, and we've seen that. Well, I think I've seen a few Scream decks with Cauldron in them, and it's been okay, right?
Hmm.
It's a free discard outlet every single turn, so it's fine in that regards. But I mean, uh, otherwise, I just don't think it's a good enough mirror breaker. There are other mirror breakers that you can use in control decks. For example, there's a 10 cost card
Uh,
that I can't remember what it's called right now.
the Scourge of the Frost Home or something like that.
Yeah,
The 10
yeah, Scourge of the
mana
Frostholm.
8/8
Yeah,
or something like that can't
they,
cast. Your opponent cannot cast spells.
your opponent can't cast spells anymore. I mean that's a huge mirror breaker, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean things like that are just a little bit better for it. Anyway, yeah.
All right, cool. So I think that kind of covered Cauldron pretty nicely. So we're gonna move on to our next card here, which I was actually super excited when I found out like about this card when it got previewed. But
This is Lamelli's
yes,
favorite card of all
Cabal
time. Actually, it's
Countess.
just yeah.
Yeah, because I personally love the ambush mechanic. Like ambush, like I built like I don't know if anybody's watched my streams from pre-wipe, but I was brewing like ambush decks. Like I was trying to figure out the right way to use the mechanic properly, but I felt like the decks weren't really there, or like the cards weren't really there, because there was only like 6 ambush creatures in the game currently, and like 4 of them were like actually good playable cards that were actually seeing play before I started brewing the deck. Um, Unfortunately, those were all in like time, justice, and primal. This one threw out double shadow, which I feel like is a good requirement for her because I feel like she's super strong, like due to her abilities. But as a whole, I feel like, or just as a 3 mana 4/1, she doesn't pass. But what do you think about this card, Overmaster?
Um, I liked her so much that I put her into my Strength of the Pack Westwing Herald deck, even though the double shadow requirement is extremely difficult to manage sometimes, right?
Hmm.
But it's just the Felon decks have always had a problem with weapons, right? They've always had a problem with weapons, and Cabal Countess solves that problem very nicely. You either just ambush the weapon, which is fine, right? But you also can just play it at the end of turn and then hit them for 6 if the armor is more than 4, right?
Hmm.
Uh, uh, and not only that, but you know what she attacks through?
What is she attack
She
through?
attacked she attacks through a Sandstorm Titan.
Sandstorm. Oh, she does. Yes, because Sandstorm
That
Titan's a
is
5/6. Yes. So they have to chump with her if they don't want to take 6. So,
exactly. And the only I see a metagame shift right now, right? Akaria Blue wasn't even that good in the closed beta, right? It was good, but it wasn't a deck that I would. Well, I mean, something like Grimfan would be able to make it to master, but I wouldn't be able to make it to master with Akaria Blue, right? But
mhm.
now Akaria Blue is actually legitimately a good option because of Torch and the ability to kill Countess at instant speed is just so important now. I think in the metagame, I think she definitely changed a lot.
So despite like obviously she does die to Torch, but like would you see an uptick in like Jundin hurlers and like primal decks to deal with her? Like even though it's not at instant speed?
Uh,
Or do
yeah,
you
you
think
can you can,
that
you can probably
like
take it.
instant
I
speed?
was thinking about that too. Yeah, just throwing in like a Jotun Hurler or two in my in the Akaria Blue deck because yeah, you'll take a hit 6
Hmm.
and then just pop it for 1 mana, not even a 1 cost. Sorry, 1 power. And and basically not lose any card advantage against the Countess. And they basically wasted 7 cost, right? They wasted 7 power in order to do all this stuff, right? So there are some legitimate bad things about Cabal Countess. The one toughness being the major thing, right? I think that's one of the only things actually, but it is a legitimate concern. You can have somebody running a temper, for example, in sideboards
Yeah, what
in
about
a
temper? I didn't even think about that card.
in a turn in like the in sideboard tournaments, right? You could I would say that people probably might actually run 1 or 2 tempers, right, to deal with one toughness units.
Hmm. That's actually pretty interesting. Like in like a Stone Scar, any Stone Scar list, or even Icaria Blue. That's actually a pretty good, interesting cyborg tech right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so other than that, I love this card personally. I think she's very versatile, and with given the ambush, like putting her down at the end of turn, and then what's it called, playing a power, then being able to ultimate her right away, just to put a clock on there, and then also to get around weapons that are really hard to, because a lot of what's it called, decks I know that don't have the Evan ability against like weapon decks, like she's like your perfect answer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet, sweet. So, all right, we're gonna move on to our next card here, which appeared quite a bit in the ETS, which is Vault of the Praxis. So this is a 4 power card, double time. Whenever you play your second unit in a turn, so it only triggers once per turn. If you play 2 units, you draw a card. What do you think about this?
I didn't think it was that good on initial impression. I thought it was sweet, obviously. I mean, in a tokens deck, the Praxis is the token's color, and it's called Vault of the Praxis, so it points you towards a fire slash time deck type deck. But the amount of Vault of the Praxis that's actually showing up on ladder and in the ETS tournaments is just it. It proves to me that I was wrong. Basically, I think the card is pretty good, and I've seen it. I've seen it in play now a lot. I didn't even realize what kind of effects you could have when you have two vaulted practices in play.
Oh,
For example,
yeah, they just all
yeah,
stack, right? So like
yeah, exactly.
your 1 mana grenade and drones that gives you a token with it. Literally just 1 mana, draw 1 card for sure. If you have multiple out, draw 3. Like who doesn't love drawing cards, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there's been some sweet tech in these lists, which we'll get to later on. But like I think Vault of the Praxis is here to stay. I think the Shimmer Pack, Vault of the Praxis type decks are certainly tier one strategies at this point. I think they're proven at this point. I think maybe Decay might have see an uptick because of the amount of relics now being seen in terms of Xenon Obelisks and Vault of the Praxis. But I just think that I mean, the card's not too overpowered or anything like that. I mean, you have Ancient Lore that draws 2 cards, right, for the same cost. And so you have to actually draw 2 cards. You have to actually draw 3 cards off of the Vault of the Praxis in order for it to break even with a card like Ancient Lore. But I think it's just, I think the amount of results we're seeing with the card is just shows that the card is just very, very
Very
powerful.
powerful, right? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. But all right, so we're gonna move on to our next segment of the day, which is the ETS Invitational. So if you guys are not sure or just barely tuning in, so the ETS Invitational happened, what was it, or this past weekend on Saturday and Sunday. The top 8 was on Sunday, correct?
The top 8 was on Sunday. There was a last chance qualifier on Saturday. We won't be talking about the. Actually, there will be one deck featured. It didn't do that well, but I think the deck is sweet, so I think it should be featured.
But yeah, so anyways, so the first deck that we're going to talk about is obviously the first place deck. So congratulations to Toth201 with his Fire Time Primal deck, which featured 4 copies of the Bolt of the Praxis, right? So
Yeah,
what do
just
you?
as we're finished discussing Vault of the Praxis, we see, ooh, the latest tournament results. Vault of the Praxis, #1, right?
hmm So like, so this isn't just a Volt of the Praxis deck, right? So it's a token deck that uses Volt of the Praxis as a card draw engine, but it finishes off with Shimmer Pack. So if you guys aren't aware of Shimmer Pack, unfortunately I did not have an image for that. I totally forgot. But anyways, I will explain the card. So it's 7 mana, double time or 7 power, double time, and double influence or double primal influence requirements, and you get to choose which creatures on the field get turned into a copy of Shimmer Pack. So that was the change to the card itself. That it used to just only target one player and change the copies of their side of the field, but now you get to choose specific creatures, which is I think a huge upgrade, right?
That is absolutely a huge upgrade. You can, I mean, before, if they had a lot of units in play that could be targeted by Shimmer Pack, you couldn't do it on your own units, right?
Yeah.
You just had to either choose between your own or theirs. Now you can just
Yeah. So say for instance, like in Tomb effects, like oh that Umbran Reaper, oh it's not Umbran Reaper anymore, it's a Shimmer Pack. So which is actually pretty cool. I think those effects, even like a Seraph, pretty good. So you can even use the
yeah,
card like
exactly.
proactively and reactively. Like, say you don't have a full board, but oh, he just ultimated Seraph. Let me target that to get rid of it real fast. So technically, it's like a pseudo removal spell, I guess you could say.
Well, I mean,
Like,
to be fair, most of the time you're just targeting all your units and just attacking for the win on turn 7. But, yeah, or on turn 8 usually because of the Xenon Obelisk, you hit 8 power on turn 8. I but yeah, it has Shimmer Pack has increases effectiveness as a deck because of both Vault of the Praxis and Shimmer Pack, and I believe now it's so. I mean, it did get a downgrade in terms of the cost requirements of Scouting Party. Scouting Party is no longer 5 cost, and I don't think the double. It may matter in these decks, I guess, because
but
this is a Fire Time Primal deck, right? In
yeah.
this
Well, it's
right? So
splashing fire for basically Grenade and Drone, I believe, and Assembly Line, which only costs
yeah,
1 fire pip. But with the like, I like your little transition there. But with the talking about Scouting Party getting boosted up to 6 power instead of 5 power, but losing a Primal Influence requirement, it's still been played out as a 4 of in this deck. Like, what do you like? Do you think the it going from 5 to 6 is bad? Because like, I personally played this deck yesterday on stream for a few games, and Scouting Party was just still Scouting Party. Like, it gave you 4 creatures that you could turn into Shimmer Pack, um, and also potentially draw deck cards.
I think Scouting Party was just too powerful at 5.
Oh, you think so? So you like the increase to 6 then?
I think Scouting Party was one of the most powerful cards in the game before the update, and
Mm-hmm.
it's still one of the more powerful cards in the game post update. So that shows that they probably made a mistake in costing it at 5.
At 5,
But
so they realized
yeah,
it. So, or at least let's hope that they realize it. We kind of see that they realized it by increasing the cost. But before we move on from this deck, I want to just talk about one last thing, which was the sideboard. So it had a very simple sideboard, only a few cards, but the card that was appearing actually in a lot of sideboards throughout the weekend for red-based decks, or at least cards that had race, was Ruin. Ruin, it started to see play from two in the sideboard to all the way up to 4 copies. Like, do you think that that was correct for the current metagame, if per se, or would you say that um, that like it's not that great of a card and you weren't sure why they were playing that many copies?
um, I didn't really think about it actually. Well, I think that for 1 cost you get rid of their Vault of the Praxis,
Yeah,
right?
and then
I think I
oh, go ahead.
and um you never know what kind of armory decks are going to show up, right?
Hmm.
At these types of tournaments, you just never know. So, I mean, just packing four or 2 ruins. It's just a good way to deal with attachments, I guess. Well, also, I mean, there's probably a ton of Zindel's gifts in there, right?
Maybe.
That
Oh
card's
yeah, because
that,
a lot of because like I feel that that Ruin was a sideboard card based off of the ladder metagame, because a lot in ladder you would see a lot of Icaria Blue and currently the traditional Armory deck. So I felt like that was an attack on those decks just in case someone like a lot of the field showed up for that. I feel like, but I don't know, that I think it was a great sideboard call, because I think Ruin, it was a great answer to that. For 1 mana, you get rid of their 4 power for 4 power relic, or even a sort of a Sky King, maybe something crazy. But
it's better than Decay,
oh,
right?
decay. Like, would you say decay is like, well, without the power like requirements, because decay costs 3, Ruin costs 1. Do you think the gaining
No,
3 life is it like
it's
comes
not
into
important.
mix?
It's not important at all. Well, with regards to it, it's important, but not 2 power difference important,
Oh,
right?
okay, okay, I get you.
So if your deck is capable of running Ruin,
Hmm.
both Ruin and Decay, you choose Ruin instead of Decay for
Okay,
sure.
got you, got you. Yeah, just like so like you're saying that the 3 life doesn't really matter then. Like, just the
Yeah.
cost efficiency is just better.
Oh, by the way, for those out there, a Vault of the Praxis triggers off of any time you ever you play anything like, for example, a scouting party or assembly line, because every single time it says play a 1/1 Grenadin on Grenadin Joan, for example, right? So you could so that counts as a play of a spell. It's not like a magic where it's like um, you cast the spell, right? It says you play it. So Practice says it triggers off of this when you play your second unit in a turn. So it triggers off of, for example, assembly line or scouting party or Marison's Disciple, and that is just sweet synergy right there. I wanted Marison's Disciple to be good for a long time, and that
Yeah.
card is just
Because I remember early on in the beta, yeah, because like so talking about Marison Disciple, that card is getting played as a 4 of in this deck, and I remember early on in the beta, like once I got into the beta, like once I got my key, there was a camel deck, a camel control deck, and it ran Marison Disciple for a pseudo like win con and also board control card, because like but depending on their board,
cool.
you get a
Yeah.
scorpion if they have a big ground creature, or you get like a flyer to block their flyer and stuff like that, but. All right, so
All
I feel
right.
like we covered
Yeah.
that deck plenty enough, and let's move on to the next one, which is the second place deck, which is Stonescar Midrange by Croat. So he actually barely started streaming, I think this week, right? I think I've seen him online a few times. So if you're interested in checking him out, go feel free to stop on by and say what's up. But it's a Stonescar Midrange deck. That I felt like it was pretty stocked, except for a few fun ofs, I guess you could say, or maybe not even fun. It was more like intentional. Um, what's it called? So for instance, like he has two Cabal Countesses and one Furnace Mage. Those are the two cards I really wanted to focus on the deck. But if you have anything else, feel free to share, Overmaster. But
Well,
we already discussed Cabal
well,
Countess.
the full four, Maiden and Steward of the Past, is kind of a. Ooh, I would hate to play against that on ladder.
Oh, is it running? I did not even catch that I was running four stewards. Oh man, so this is a huge void breaker, right?
Yeah, for
But
sure. I
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't even think Countess is a fun of at this point. I'm actually surprised that he's not running four of them. Although I suppose you can't like at some point you have to worry about your curve. Although he doesn't worry about it. I don't know. I would probably drop like one or two Steward of the Past just because I want people to not run Graveyard Heap, but and to up the amount of Cabal Countess, right? Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, and then I'm sorry, Comp. I accidentally spelled your name wrong in the Nightbot thing. I was getting that together. I was trying to type fast. I'm sorry. I did not mean to do that. Spelled with an A, not an O.
Whoops.
I am very sorry. But other
uh,
than that, though, yeah, I feel like Cabal Countenance we covered plenty. So yeah, she's a good inclusion. But I do think that maybe she could be included in more numbers, possibly. But the main card in the main board that say is Furnace Mage. Like, despite playing Ruin in the sideboard, do you think it'd be slightly better to play like a Furnace Mage instead of a Ruin because it gives you a 4/3 creature that can potentially be a threat, or no?
well, the Furnace Mage would be hard to play in those Vault of Praxis decks, right? That we were talking about before. Here, Furnace Mage is great because it's a two-color deck, right? A two-faction deck, so you can actually get the influence requirements, right?
Yeah.
I think the I think this deck is understating the importance of attachment removal, because in the in the sideboard there's four sabotages, which sometimes doesn't get what you want,
Mhm.
and the Furnace Mage, and that's it, right? I
Mhm.
think there needs to be hard removal for attachments in your sideboard against because Vault of the Practice is just so strong. Maybe that's why the person lost in the final, right? Or not,
Mhm.
uh, I'm not saying Conf didn't play well or didn't have a great deck for the
Mhm.
tournament, which he obviously did. He came second, right? It's just that maybe he didn't realize how much Vault of the Praxis would be part of the metagame, right?
Like, yeah, because he was packing three plagues in the main board, so obviously that didn't
Oh yeah,
do
that's true.
enough. But do you feel the reason why, what's it called, that he ended up like potentially losing? Not saying that he actually lost for this reason, was because that he didn't have a lot of ways to deal with it post board, like the initial token rush, because he's not like a felon deck where you could play four plague and four lightning storm to deal with that, or even
Right.
Black Sky Harbinger. So do you think like the fault of this deck is it kind of dies to go wide strategies?
It doesn't necessarily die to gold line strategies, but I think it has a difficult time to deal with them because the Saturated Maiden is actually a decent answer to go white strategies because every single time one of those tokens dies, it makes something bigger, and then they have to chump every single turn, and then whatever it is that it just keeps on getting bigger and bigger with the Maiden, right? So
Yeah.
it's not the worst matchup ever or anything like that. Especially since it's running 4 Suffocates, 4 Torches, 4 Vara's Favors, and 3 Plagues to deal with tokens. I mean, it's not the worst matchup, but I would say that um, not running. I think dealing with the attachments is probably the most important part,
Okay. Cool.
and dealing
Uh,
with them once they're in play. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so we're kind of lost track of time here, so we're gonna kind of speed things up a little bit. But the third deck that we're gonna talk about is the traditional armory deck that Vine that showed up with. Um, my main thing, so this is instead of blue for so it's kind of like an Icaria blue list. It's a control deck that uses weapons as finishers basically, and as its removal. Instead of blue, it's playing Shadow. Um, Two of the main cards that I wanted to focus on was Treasury Gate for one. I personally don't like that card anymore. Playing the traditional armory list from pre-wipe, it felt a little lackluster to me personally. And then I wanted to talk about Armor Smith in the main board too. But any thoughts on Treasury Gate?
I'm not too sure. I honestly I thought the card was really bad, but I mean it's obviously, I mean, what you make a 4-1 or a 5-2, I guess, if it's been inspired. You make a 3-2 or 4-3 with a sort of a carrier, right? I mean, every single time you play it, I guess it's kind of like a Vault of the Praxis or like a Xenon Obelisk, right? Where you have this relic that's actually decent, but I don't think it impacts games as much as those cards do. The Vault of the Praxis is an obelisk, and I'm not too sure. It from my mind's eye, right? It doesn't seem very powerful, right?
Hmm.
It
I
doesn't
feel
seem very
like
powerful.
the card is meant for more like control mirrors because that gives you an additional um, threat to your weapon. Because like you play the Treasury Gate. So if people don't know what Treasury Gate, we should have explained this before. Is that it's a 4 cost relic that whenever you play a weapon, you get a copy of a unit that matches the stats of your weapon. Um, so I think that maybe it like cause like when I used to play it back pre-wipe that yeah you would play a Sword of a Sky King and then you get an 8/8 creature. So in the control matchup now they have to deal with your 8/8 weapon and your creature. Usually they could deal with your creature pretty easily because they have like they're holding their harsh rules. But when they run out of harsh rules and spot removal, it puts them on a clock, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now the armor smiths, you know what? That's a card I've loved in Armory. Honestly, it is a great card. You play it for free, you get another 2 armor. It just makes your weapons just so much harder to deal with. I played a lot of Naya Armory before the wipe. I didn't really play a lot of traditional Armory, but the armor smiths were always excellent every single time. I think as long as I remembered to play the weapon in the armor smith, but that's another story.
Yeah, so like, cause my question about the armor smith, that like what I really wanted to talk about, is that I think it's a great addition to that deck, but why don't you see it in like Icaria blue decks though?
You don't have as
Is
many
it because
weapons.
yeah, I was gonna say, is it just because you don't have that many weapons? But
You're
uh,
not running also the 4 sort of Icarias. If you ran a certain amount of sort of Icarias and ran like Recon, uh, maybe we should brew that later on. I
all
don't
right, that's a
know.
challenge to you viewers out there. Is that see if you can make a Icaria blue list with some armor smith. Maybe it's better, maybe it's worse. We'll find out, right? So let us know. Um, but then,
Right,
anyways,
moving
to
on.
touch on the sideboard real fast.
Oh,
Obviously, you had the 4 ruins. We already discussed the ruins in the sideboard tech of these decks that showed up a lot. But 4 protects. What do you think that matchup is for?
that's a nice that's a nice tech against, for example, like torch based decks and whatnot. Maybe Burn, Stone Scar Burn was a huge deal at the start of
The
at the start
ladder.
of the wipe. Yeah, at the start of the wipe, the transcriber room was a huge deal. So I would say that's probably a reaction to that.
Yeah, and then also, it's a counter to ruin. Boom. They try to ruin your weapon,
Ooh,
you protect
oh
yourself.
yeah.
Boom. Just shift the
That is
metagame.
very
Boom.
nice.
All right. So for the last deck that we're gonna cover from the Invitational, um,
Yeah,
is Pojo's deck. All right. So this was a spicy one. I was actually when I first saw the list, I was
yeah, I know.
surprised how far he got because like when I look at the list, I'm just like, whoa, what the heck is going on here, right? I'm happy that he got this far with this deck because it shows like how much creativity you can have with this game, right? For those deck builders out there, look like look what you can do, right? And still be competitive, which is awesome. So the first main point that I wanted to go over was that instead of because he's a token based strategy, so if you guys haven't seen it, it's a token based strategy, but it's only running 2 volts of the Praxis. Like why? Like what is your thoughts on that? Just 2, not 4, like we seen in the earlier list.
Uh, I don't like it. I think he could have, for example, taken out the Infinite Hourglass, for example. Like that's it. That's his pet card. He loves Infinite Hourglass, and he's gonna fit it in every single deck that he can.
Yeah.
And like the Call of the First Dragon is probably not like the best or anything like that.
Hmm.
And you could probably I think the vault should be at 4 because it's not a singleton vault that is the problem. That is great about the card. It's when you get a second vault into play, right? and,
Hmm.
and you're starting to draw 2 cards for every single token maker you're making, right? You're playing. So that I don't think it's necessarily uh, that I don't agree with. However, there are a few other spicy things. Man, today on ladder when I played Harsh Rule and they had like 10 tokens on board and they played a stand together.
Oh,
Oh,
yes, he's playing
oh,
4 stand together. So he's like more of a really go wide strategy because he's not playing Shimmer packs. He's not playing Primal. He's playing Fire. Or I'm sorry, he's playing Justice over Primal. He has 4 stand togethers and 4 rallies. 4 rallies. That was a card that caught me off guard a little bit too, because you don't really see those that card in like really build up token decks. You kind of see it more in the like low to the ground Jito Queen esque decks. I guess you could say that. At least that's where I've seen them before. Um, and then also for Exene Obelisk. So what do you think about that? Like straight go wide. Like what do you think?
well, I didn't get to see a lot of the tournament. I just started looking at the videos now. But the first thing I tuned into was him. I was watching in Loco Poja. He double rallied Serrano.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I saw that. I was watching the Invitational at the time when I saw him go double rally. That was pretty gross, right?
It's pretty insane. I don't necessarily think that, for example, like having uh, 2 torches necessarily the best thing, especially since he's running so much fire, right? It's actually a
Yes, he's running a lot of fire. And then I mainly wanted to touch on this really super spicy number though, that Claw of the First Dragon. So it's a 7 mana relic weapon, sorry, 7 power, double fire influence, and then when it entombs, you get 4 random 1/1s in the game. 4 random 1/1s. So it's kind of like Felon Cauldron where you get 5 random spells, but 4 random 1/1s in the game. And then obviously it's a 4/4 relic. So what do you think about that card in the deck?
every single time I kill a claw of the first dragon, my opponent gets 2 Pyre Knights off of it.
Just broken, right? Just broken. Like just luck is on his side.
Oh, that card, man. And that I've seen Claw of the First Dragon work in. For example, there are some decks in pre-wipe that ran Claw of the First Dragon. It's just every single time, without fail, 2 Pyre Knights.
Dang.
I mean,
But
I suppose I could be less lucky, and they could get 4 Pyre Knights off of it, but you know, 2 Pyre Knights still pretty good.
yeah, that's still pretty good, right? And then they're already at 7 power, so they could easily just ult next turn or ult that turn that it dies. So,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
all right. So this last deck that we're gonna cover today wasn't from the Invitational, but it was in the last chance qualifier, which shout out to, oops, where's it at? Shout out to
Shout
Isma.
Elves, Elsma, actually.
Elsma. Sorry,
Yeah.
Elsma. I always see it and I think of an I because that's just the way that
Yeah.
it works. But I'm sorry, Elsma.
Me too, until I had to talk to him in chat, and I'm like, why is this not coming up? Why is this not coming up? Oh, well,
But
it's an
he
L
had a
instead of an
spicy
I.
one. Four
Yeah, this
faction
was
control
one.
list. So I know that you wanted to touch on this deck. So you go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I've been running a strength of the pack list for a little while now, and this basically takes it ups the notch a little bit, right? You've got this recurring nightmare protect package. I started playing this deck a bit, and I don't like necessarily, for example, like the Warhelm or anything like that because, but yeah, it's pretty spicy when you have both recurring nightmare and Western Herald because you can either they can't deal with both. It's very hard to deal with both of those cards, right? The Western Herald or Recurring Nightmare. The Western Herald, Strength of the Pack combo is pretty neat. Like that once the Western Herald connects and you get the Strength of the Pack and the Western Herald, it's basically a game over most of the time. In fact, it's I think in about 95% of the cases, and I've played the deck a lot, that is the case. That it's just getting the Western Herald through. But then they deal with the Western Hero, but then you have this recurring nightmare with the protect on it, and they just can't deal with it. I don't know, but it's spicy, but I don't necessarily think it's that great, right?
Hmm.
But it is
Yeah, because
really
like when
really
I
fun.
first looked at the deck, I was like, man, this deck looks a little all over the place. A lot of two ofs, a lot of one ofs. Not like obviously you have the main four ofs in like your board wipes and your card draw, but um, I don't know. Like I feel like it's a spicy one for sure, but I don't know how personally it great. I maybe had to play with it a little bit to see kind of like what his thought process was, but very interesting
Oh, I
indeed.
know.
So.
I can see all the little synergies. I just don't. Yeah, I think that you can do this, but you can't do things like, for example, have a singleton Warhelm or something like that in there, or have only two finest hours for your recurring nightmare shenanigans, and have like the island's favor. Like you need an island's favor in a lot of matchups, but I don't think that the deck has enough slots for the two islands favors, for example, right?
Yeah. All right. So our last segment, not like our last segment, but it's a mini segment. I would like to call it because it's not really a full segment because there's not really much to say. But I feel like it's more of a challenge segment to our viewers, because I really want to know their thoughts later on about this. But where's it? Oh, it didn't go. Oh no, it's right here. No, where's it at? Oh, because I have to do it like this. Sorry, mini malfunction, guys. Mini malfunction.
I'm
There you
actually
go.
surprised. I don't know what's happening.
Has roaches been
Oh, this
exterminated?
one.
All
Yeah,
right. So, if anybody played during the pre-wipe, there was a Clockroach deck. So it featured this card, Clockroach, and the Echo Mechanic, plus an additional combo card with it, which we'll get to in a second. But I wanted to break down this card, and so we could discuss the changes to it. So this was a 3-cost creature. Started off as a 2/2 with double time influence. And then whenever you summon other cockroaches, gain +1/+1. It's either in your hand or deck. So it's an echo card. So you get. So it used to be you draw an additional copy, right? You draw. So that will become important in a second. Now it got changed to you get an additional copy. So you no longer draw it. So the combo of this deck is with Crown of Possibilities. So this is a 3-cost relic, part time and part primal influence, one each. And then whenever you draw a unit, so I'm emphasizing draw here because this is really important. Draw a unit, it gains a random skill. So for instance, random skills like basic battle skills is like overwhelm, endurance, flying, aegis, charge. So since Cockroaches doesn't redraw an additional copy, it's gain or get an additional copy, so no longer drawing. You don't get 2 battle skills off of the second Echo creature, because the first Echo creature would the additional one that you draw gets like Aegis. The second one will gain the Aegis from the first copy, but then gain an additional skill. So has Roaches been exterminated, Overmaster?
Well, Pepper's in chat, and he said, "Yeah, it's dead," and I agree with him. I'm kind of mad about it. I'll, not just kind of mad. It's just I don't think the deck was it was inherently too powerful at all. Maybe a little annoying for some people to play against on the ladder, but I don't think it was necessarily too powerful. And they nerfed the echo mechanic, and I don't agree with it at all. Honestly, it's just kind of a sore spot. Sore spot. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just love my
I
dark roaches a lot. I just loved it so much. Well, it's Sunny Vales, but like
oh yeah,
that
Sunnyvale
that
was a huge advocate for this deck.
that roaches list, man, it just was so fun.
Yeah, and then that's a good thing too, Pepper in the chat. That the rule change kind of seems kind of odd because it says you get an additional copy, but for some cards that says whenever card you draw, it still doubles the effect. So, um, if any developer is out there, could you answer us that question maybe? Like, in the comments, because this what's it called VOD is gonna be uploaded to YouTube and stuff, or just put it in the Discord or something, because that's very interesting. Like, what do you have anything to say about that, Overmaster? About kind of like the inconsistency with the reading, I guess you could say.
I don't necessarily think there's. I don't think there's an still counts as a draw for Destiny plus Echo. I'm reading what Pepper is writing in chat. And Echo plus Fate still triggers Fate twice.
And also, like, for
Yeah,
instance,
that seems really really strange. Yeah,
cause like
it's just that
for
inconsistencies are.
oh yeah, sorry. For like Camel, whenever you draw a card, you gain life. So every time you draw an Echo card, you gain 2 life. Or Psionic Savant, it
Wait,
gets
wait.
+1. You still
It
get
does
+4.
not though anymore.
It doesn't?
Does it?
Yeah, it still does. Hmm.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't because the Echo is just get right.
Yeah, no, but for those 2 cards though, it still works as if you draw an additional copy though.
That's so weird because that's not how the reading
Yeah,
should be,
that's what I'm
right?
saying. There's like a little misconfusion. At least when I played those cards, I seen it happen myself, even on stream. So yeah, so that's a kind of question out there to the developers if anyone's watching, or if anyone else could, what's it called, can help us answer that. That'd be pretty sweet. But, anyways, all right, for the last segment, which is gonna be a little longer segment, we have a guest interview with da 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 Grimfan. How's it going, Grim? You there, man?
Hey, yeah, I'm here. I'm here. How's it going?
Yeah, sorry about
I'm good.
going a little over schedule here. I'm very sorry.
No, no
But
problem.
Yeah,
yes,
sorry for keeping you
so
waiting.
we have brought Grimfan on the stream here for a mini interview and what's it called? A special draft segment at the very end of the show. So stay tuned for that. Um, but he was the very first person to hit master in draft. So congratulations on that, Grimfan.
By the
Congratulations.
way,
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Overmaster.
can you share your screen so I can know where my
Oh yes,
view is?
I got
Yeah,
you. Sorry about
I
that.
need because I keep on
Oh,
noticing it
moving.
on the stream or whatever, right? And
Hmm.
I've been off center for most of the stream, I think.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, congratulations, Grim. That was an amazing run, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I think I
seriously.
might be frozen though for some
Oh,
reason.
are you
Yeah,
frozen?
I'm
Uh-oh.
frozen
People
now.
are frozen. There we go. There we go.
There we
Oh,
go.
okay, good.
All right,
Okay.
cool. Sorry.
Whew. All right.
We're still figuring this out. First show, guys. First show. Sorry, sorry.
It's no problem.
But anyways, yeah. So congratulations, Grimfan. So, congratulations on that. So we have a few. I had a few interview questions to ask you about your road to masters. So for anybody out there that's looking for any advice about getting to the top of the ranks of the ladder of draft, you'll hear a little bit from Grim here. So first off, how long did it take you to get to masters, Grim?
It took me 3 days of streaming, and I didn't really play off stream at all, and it took about 20 hours or so.
20
That's
hours.
so incredible. Take,
That,
jeez.
that's commitment right there, guys. Commitment. Straight 20 hours of drafting. So, and you like to do a lot of drafts on your stream, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Like last, I guess it was last. I would say last season because I don't know if I count the mini November season or not, but
Mm-hmm.
the October season we actually did chat drafts all the way to master, which was a lot of fun. But I haven't done any of those this season because we've been just trying to build a collection and stuff, and the whole draft format changed completely. So
Oh, right on, right on. Yeah, so Grim, what's it called? Created this new feature with his roommate that you're able to type in the chat to help pick draft picks. I'm assuming that you'll be doing that pretty soon after you kind of get a nice stable collection going. I'm assuming.
hmm
Uh,
yeah, probably. Also, I'm giving people a little bit of time to figure out the draft format because it took me a little bit because they shifted a bunch of cards from sets and they made some changes. You know, like refresh and stuff is in draft now, and it's really different actually from the closed beta.
yes, I can't agree. Like, Overmaster, you have any thoughts on the new draft format?
Well, I suck at it. I
It's
haven't even
healthier
made
though.
gold. I haven't even made gold yet. It's so, oh man. Yeah, well, obviously it's healthier with the auxiliary evolution and Vatican staff changes, but
Yeah,
Oh yes,
yeah.
yeah.
those changes were much needed. Most
Although,
definitely.
I had a 6-3 draft that had an auxiliary evolution and a Vatican staff anyway, so I mean,
Nice.
That's gross, man.
Sometimes you get lucky.
Yeah, sometimes you get lucky, right? But all right, my next question for you, Grim, here is that based on the different faction combinations, which ones did you have most success with? Like,
Generally time-based decks are what I tended to have the most success with, mostly because you can fix the other colors really easily. There's a lot of very powerful high-end cards, but none of the factions really stick out as being any better than the others. I just kind of drafted what was open at the time, what looked like I was going to get fed a good deck, and then went from there. I also end up splashing a lot, which is probably why I prefer time-based strategies. So
yeah, because in time-based strategies, like Overmaster, what type of fixing do you get? Like off the top of your head?
uh, well, you get secret page, which is not as good as it is anymore, obviously, but it's still okay. And you also get Amber Acolyte, which is just an incredible card. That's definitely the best fixer in time.
mhm.
Um,
Would you say that
and
the? Oh, go ahead.
that combined with seek page, seek power and whatnot, right? You can easily splash third, fourth. Um, I mean, there are adventurers folks who go for 5 faction as well, but I think generally sticking to 3 or 4 is actually a legit really good way to draft if you're really vigilant about taking fixing early.
Yes. So Grim, speaking about fixing in draft, like how highly do you take fixing? Like for instance, I consider strangers as fixing personally. I
Mhm.
consider and then seek power, secret pages, and amber acolytes, like and banners. Obviously, did I say banners? Can't remember. But anyways, banners. How highly do you take those over like let's say like a nice playable card or
Generally, if it's a nice playable card, I won't end up taking fixing until I really know that I'm getting short on playables, and I want to like say that I'm Stone Scar and I really want to splash feeding time. Then I'll start looking for Feln fixers, or even an Elysian Stranger just to splash the feeding time. But generally speaking, if there's a better card for it, then I'll probably take the better card over the fixing. But I will take fixing pretty high. It's when I say better card, I mean it has to be like I would take the 2/3 adventurer over a stranger generally if I know that I don't have a lot of good strong cards to splash.
um.
Just because a
Oh,
solid 2/3 is better than a
mhm.
2/2 that fixes you some most of the time actually. So
That's something that I don't do. Is take the I take fixing over the bold adventure. So maybe
hmm.
that's one of the things that I need to do to change it up this time around, right? Because I haven't been doing very well.
And then so chaining off of that what's it called, so do you pick like say for instance you're like Stone Scar, right? Like say like you've been past Stone Scar all day and then you open up a pack and there's a feeding time in it, you have no fixing at all, do you just straight off like take that feeding
I'll take
time?
yeah, I'll take it if like especially if my deck wants it.
Mhm.
So the thing about Stone Scar is you tend to get like executes and some decent tempo base removal, but you don't get a lot of good hard removal unless you get past Annihilator or Death Strike or Torches. And so, yeah, I will take a feeding time, even if it's the last pack, if I think that I'm going to somehow be able to play it.
Okay, yeah, cause like sometimes when I'm on stream drafting, cause and even like just drafting in general, like if I don't have the fixing, I'm kind of a little hesitant of taking the card because I don't know, like say for instance there's a feeding time and like I'm a Stone Scar deck and there's what's it called? Let's say a sharpshooter and I have a lot of weapons. Like I want that feeding time, but this what's it called? Sharpshooter is really good in my deck. Like how would you justify that?
I'd have to look at the rest of my deck and
Mhm.
figure out whether I need the sharpshooter or not. If I have a lot of good 3 drops, then and I'm okay not getting a sharpshooter is a premium 3 drop in Stone Scar though, so it's not something I would easily get rid of, especially if I had a lot of weapons or even like say a couple granite acolytes and I want that sharpshooter. It's going to go in my deck. I'm not going to take a feeding time over it unless the feeding time is more important for my deck. Really, it's like one of those things where you have to make that decision, and that would be one of those where I'd take a while and think about it.
Yeah, so that's great, man. Overmaster, you have anything to add to that at all, or?
Yeah, it's all about what's in your deck already, right?
Hmm.
Like, I mean, obviously, I would want to take more removal over everything. Actually, but if I need that 3 drop, man, like or 2 drop, especially 2 drops in the format, and getting started early is just so important still, right? Like,
Yeah,
so I don't know.
but for instance, if I'm in a Legion deck and I've already got a bunch of decent 2 drops, and there's a Bold Adventurer and a Desert Marshal in the last pack, and I still have a chance to get Combre fixing, then I'll probably take the Desert Marshal just to hedge on that.
Hmm.
So if my deck could use another powerful splash card, and I think Desert Marshal is one of those out of Combray, which is why I like base time as well, because you have so many good crossover cards in Elysian and Time that are multicolor that it is actually just kind of like you get a really nice powerful deck. It's still a good mix of cards.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
you get
agree.
like hatchling and desert marshal as like crossover picks
Mhm.
that are time based.
Okay, so that was a great good discussion about that question there. Let's move on to the next one though. What card do you want to see for your pack one pick one above everything else? If you could have one card to start off every single draft with, what would it be, Grimfan?
A Smuggler Stash.
Smuggler stash.
If you're
Yes,
gonna
yes,
if
that
you're
was
gonna pick one, if you're gonna make me one pick one card, then fine. I'll just say Smuggler Stash. It's very committing. But it's technically splashable in film, technically splashable in Recano, and it's a really powerful card. It pretty much swings the game your way after you've traded a bunch of dorky stuff, or say you want to get multiple uses out of acolytes. It's just a really powerful card.
Nice, nice. I like it. What about you, Overmaster? What would your pack one pick one be every single time?
that's actually what I was gonna say. Like when I looked at the interview questions or whatever, like uh that was what I was thinking as well. Smuggler stash out of like uncommon cards, right? Draftable cards that are
Mhm, yeah.
Uh-huh.
that will show up a lot.
Yes.
Obviously, I
If it's
mean,
like just any card at all, then I guess I'll just take Seraph every time
I
so
know,
I can
right? I
get
was about
this.
to say Seraph.
I
Just
need it.
like, sure.
Yeah,
That's
I need a crafter still. She's good on 3. She's good on 8, 9, whatever. It doesn't matter. So
I would take Channel the Tempest over pretty much anything. I'm not gonna lie. No, Westwind
you
Herald.
pick.
I don't know. No,
right.
no, sorry. Yeah, Westwind Herald. Yeah, or Whispering Wind.
There you go. Let us know in the chat, guys, what your pack one pick one would be, despite rares and legendaries. Like any common, uncommon, what would you want to start off with? But anyways, all right. Moving on to the next question though. Is there any cards that you see the community favors that you don't understand why, or that you just totally like? What are they kind of like? Not really kind of what are they thinking, but kind of like, am I not seeing something, or, what's your opinion on that?
I've talked about it before, and I don't like Blood Beetle. It's a card that I find a lot of people tend to like playing, and they put it in their decks, and it's really only good in very specific situations, and that's when you're on the play and you have it in your opening hand, and you can somehow cast it, and then your opponent doesn't have any counter to it. Which I mean, you don't want to counter a Blood Beetle. You don't want to have to be put in that position.
Hmm.
But one of those. That's basically the card that I always disagree with, and I think that I still see decent people play with it. I mean, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, but there was actually a draft I had recently where I had two Blood Beetles in my deck, and I was like, I'm just gonna put some shitty 4 drops in there, and the deck actually felt like it played better because I wasn't playing a turn one creature that could never actually turn into a flyer without either a lot of help or the right circumstances.
Yeah, like me personally, like I was a fan of Blood Beetle. Like I'm not gonna lie, I played the fifth, but
Such a scrub. Oh my god.
I
I'm
used to
just
like
joking.
Blood Beetle, like in like the aggressive Stone Scarless, personally, because like if you like, yes, I know it's very conditional, but turn one Blood Beetle on the play, you hit him, he goes in the air, and they have no way to deal with him. He's just like a solid like clock that just gets in
But
there
he doesn't
every
gain
time.
you card advantage like only Ronin, right?
Basic, like
Or
yeah, that's
tempo
kind of
advantage.
true.
It's
But
just
I
two
mean,
damage a turn.
I like taking gridded in even better than blood beetle is the
oh
thing.
wow,
There are actually 1 drops that have utility that I think are better than blood beetle that other people probably would disagree with me on, and that's one of them. I actually think taking gridded in is a little bit better than blood beetle.
Yeah, like Humbug is better than Blood Beetle.
I actually would agree with you. I think that humbug would be in my
Yeah,
mind better than blood beetle because it already has flying.
good old shout out to
exactly.
Humbug
You
right
you
there.
put you put a weapon, you put like a crown watch sword on a Humbug turn too, and
Uh-huh.
you're
Town
killing
havoc.
it. You're killing it.
Yep.
Nice, nice.
And Creep will be proud, obviously.
All right. So,
Yeah.
any advice from Grim about Blood Beetle? No Blood Beetle. Blood Beetle is a dead card to him. All right.
Basically, yes.
All right. I like it. I like it. Um, so just kind of like so these last questions aren't really like too serious, but or this last two questions, but what is your favorite card to draft though? Like despite being a good solid card, which card do you have the most fun with? Like
Well, I already talked about Smuggler's Stash, but I really like Dark Return, and I like combining it with Echo cards. So I really like the new Yeti Troublemakers. Mostly, I like it in Feldless because, like I said, I like to use it with Dark Return and just get a lot of value off of the Yetis. And I love cards with Echo. I think Echo is a great mechanic. So I guess I like drawing 2 cards for one. I don't know who
who
anybody who doesn't like doing that.
doesn't, right?
So
I know
yeah.
Overmaster's a fan.
Yeah, I like my 2-for-1s a lot.
And then before we get into our very last segment, which is going to be a surprise segment that we might have later on in the shows with other future master drafters, but any tips to current players, new players that want to get better at the draft format, that they don't feel that they're too confident in the draft? Any tips that you would give them that they can kind of try to apply or anything like that?
Just in your first pack, pay really close attention to what's getting passed to you. Sometimes you'll get a pack that doesn't have any good cards in it, and you don't know what's taken. You have no idea. Just kind of take the best card and break through those packs if you can, and then find the good cards that are being passed to you in the first pack. That way, it'll set up your pack 2 and 4, which apparently are based off of what's being passed to you in your first pack. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know all of the details of that. Maybe someday we'll get like a really good in-depth guide as to how the game decides what exactly you get in your second and fourth pack, like who's passing to you and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've heard and from what I've been putting into practice, it does seem to work that if you commit pretty good to the colors that are open in your first pack, packs 2 and 4 are set up pretty well for you. And even if you don't get there in pack 3, as long as you can get a good, you know, 8 cards or so from both pack 2 and 4, and then a few from pack 1 and 3, you should be good to at least put together some sort of draft deck. And the other thing is, don't overlook enemy strategies. I think that a lot of people like the off-brand strategies. A lot of people maybe focus too much on the really good multi-faction cards and think that they can't draft Xenon, Huru, or Argentport, and those are both. I think I've had a lot of success with all 3 of those factions, and I mean, Skycrack and Praxis are pretty bad, but the other 3 are really good in my opinion. So
Cool, cool. I like it. I like it. So that's gonna conclude the interview, but we're gonna have a bonus segment here. So please bear with me that I need to set this up real fast. So please bear with me. But we're gonna do is we're gonna hop into a draft, and Grimfan is gonna walk us through the first 3 picks of the draft. All right. So please bear with me, Grim Overmaster. If you guys want to mention anything, feel free to.
Uh, well, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something about the two. I find it's actually a little harder right now to follow in getting good packs 2 and 4. Well, I think the algorithm is kind of setting itself up right now. I think it's such a complicated algorithm that it's going to probably take a few weeks for it to.
They did some stuff for sure, like with these changes, like the packs were seeded kind of weird. Some people were reporting getting past really good legendaries late, like Surso and Moosh got past a Sandstorm Titan in one of his drafts. So we're definitely seeing like maybe
I haven't
I
gotten
don't
any
know.
good legendaries. What?
Well, there are people who yeah, there are people who've been doing a lot of drafts, and I've been hearing about that sort of thing happening. Uh, but maybe it's catching up. And the other thing I've actually noticed is there haven't been as many Amber Acolytes, and I mean not Amber, Amethyst Acolytes. I don't know if people are like really actively drafting them, but I just actually haven't seen that many. That's probably bias on my side, but
That is something that I've noticed too. Actually, I used to get like 4 or 5 per draft before the wipe. You know that.
yeah, which actually makes Ronin a little bit better if there's just not that many of those cards because I thought that Ronin had gone down pretty significantly as a pick due to the fact that it has 1 toughness and dies to everything now.
Hmm.
But I had a draft the other day with 3 of them, and it felt really good. No, none of them died to Amethyst Acolytes the whole way up, which was weird. Lamelli had a draft with 5 of them the other day, so I mean,
Oh yeah.
I got wrecked by that.
I'm about to say, Grimfan experienced that one firsthand.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
geez, that 7-0 draft was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. The
Yeah, it
the
was really
Lamella
good.
draft.
I still haven't actually had a 7-0 draft yet
Oh
since the
really?
open beta.
Actually,
I've
Yep.
never
I
had a
think I
7-0 draft,
have, or not
fortunately.
7-0, but I've had a few 7-win drafts though. That's for sure. I think that
I
was my
had
first
I had
7-0.
9 I had 9 during the whole closed beta. And
Oh,
I was
wow.
one of the first people invited. I was invited in April.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, see, I wasn't
Nine
invited till
nine
May.
seven
I
O's.
think
You
May.
mean?
Yes, I had 9 7-0s the whole way through closed
Jeez,
beta.
must be
Nice, nice.
nice.
All right, so I got the thing set up here. All right, Grim. So walk us.
It can't be seen on
I can see it, but I don't know if they can see it.
They can't see it just yet. Okay, yeah.
Okay. So this is actually pretty tough. I would take I think that I would take Suffocate, but Flame Blast is something I would want to take because it's a lot more powerful. But Suffocate is premium shadow removal, sort of. It's really good. It's just I don't know. It's kind of on the low end of them. This would be really hard for me. What do you think, Lomeli? What would you pick? I think you sold. Let's go with the Flame Blast. I think you sold me on the Flame Blast. I think. So let's go with that one.
Well, I'm one of the more adventurous drafters you will come. It's from my cube days in Magic. So I probably would still take the Suffocate myself because I don't know. Triple fire is a lot, but whatever. Do it. Let's do it. Flame blast. Mike down.
Actually, technically, yes, it's easier to cast, but actually, you sort of sold me on the fact that Flame Blast can kill bigger things and can still kill pretty small things, especially if you combine it with a play that turn.
Apparently, they can't hear you, Lamelle. They can't hear you. So, can you still hear me, Eo
All right,
Braj?
hello. All right, I think it should be good now, right?
Well, we'll see. But yeah,
All right, guys. Let us know
make
in
sure
the
we
chat.
get some technical difficulties solved.
Yeah, sorry about that. I have a lot of windows
I
open
think
right
the
now.
I think the biggest technical difficulty is my my cam, but whatever.
It's okay.
I'll have to buy another cam or something like that.
Can't hear
You can't.
nothing.
What? Oh no! Oh no!
Well, I can
I
hear you
could
guys.
Oh,
hear
can hear now. Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, here now. Okay, good.
All right, cool. Yeah, and then so yeah, also in the chat, guys. In the chat, if you guys are currently watching here on what's it called, on Twitch, because this will be uploaded to YouTube. Put in the comments or in the chat that what would your pick be? All right, so, but Grimfan
Actually,
wants
take the suffocate. Actually, no, let's take the suffocate. Let's
you.
take the suffocate. I've
You
had
know,
more time to think about it. This is such a hard pack, though. Actually,
no, it
Yeah.
really is. I do agree. Because like even there's an Amber Acolyte down here too.
See, my problem
I-
with Flame Blast is that you can't do anything. Once you take Flame Blast, you're committed to fire, right? Whereas like it's committed to like a two-color strategy with Flame Blast or something like that, right? Whereas Suffocate, you could go like 4 or 5 colors, whatever you want, right? I don't know.
suffocate's definitely more splashable, which is another, take in its favor. But I think that you could still play Flame Blast in a 3-color deck. You just have to face fire.
Okay.
Which
Yeah.
means that you have to have like fire strangers and stuff, which is kind of what makes it, what can bring it back to being flexible. But let's take the suffocate. Let's be flexible.
Okay. All right.
Let's take the
So
suffocate.
all right. So just to be clear though, you're taking Suffocate just due to not
Yeah,
power level but
take the suffocate.
flexibility. All right. Cool.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. So Grim, lead us off here on your pick 2.
I would take Bloodcaster.
I'm sorry. What was that?
And it's
Cut there.
I would take the Bloodcaster.
Oh, okay. Bloodcaster.
And it's not even close. Praxis
it's
Blazer is
rare.
close, but
It's rare. It has a good body because it blocks and kills a lot of 2-drops. It doesn't just block them well; it blocks them exceptionally well. And then late game, that ultimate is actually pretty decent. It's more card advantage, so I think it's good.
Yes, and I do agree. And it goes. I would have to say it does perfectly pair with our first pick, Suffocate.
It does, yeah. I'm glad we didn't take that Flame Blast. Jeez.
Overmaster, do you have anything to say about this pack?
I think that Praxis Blazer shout outs to it, but I mean we did take a Suffocate and now we got a Bloodcaster, so I mean it's a pretty easy pick.
And we got past the Bloodcaster, which is not like the biggest signal, but it helps a little bit.
Helps.
Like
Yeah.
that's sort of a signal. Like these packs are not necessarily your opponent's, at least from what I have understood, they're not necessarily your opponent's first pack as well. This could be our opponent's, I don't know, second or third pack or whatever, and they took, like, what would you take over Bloodcaster first pick normally? Like, I don't even know.
I would
And
say
it looks like
So that's one of the things I'm very confused about with the way the packs are seated, right? Like when what did they pick that when did they pass that Bloodcaster? Was it their second pack? Was it their third pack? Was it their first pack? Was it always their first pack matching up with your first pack, or their second pack matched up with your second pack? I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. It'd be really nice to know. This pack, since we're just doing 3 picks, I would take the EVSR, and I'm doing that because it's the most powerful card. It's something you can technically splash in Felon if you want to, and it has some synergy with Yeti Troublemakers and maybe some other Echo cards. If maybe we're more going to be slanted more towards a Primal deck rather than a Shadow deck, we are really Shadow focused, so maybe the Static Bolt is better because it's like an earlier. The earlier you pick Static Bolt in a draft, the better. So
Oh,
maybe
yes.
Static Bolt would be actually better here. It's just if you only end up with one Static Bolt, that's really not good. Like Static Bolt is not. It is a lot worse than it appears. You think 2 mana kill something for 2 is good, but it's really actually kind of iffy. Although, I mean, if you have Lethrai Rangers and stuff, it gets a lot better. I've kind of talked myself into the Static Bolt, so that's probably where I would actually end up picking. My heart wants the Aviasar. My heart wants the Aviasar.
All right,
Yeah.
Overmaster, you want to have anything to say about this fact?
Well, I always like to sabotage drafts, so Avisar. No, I don't know actually. I mean, Avisar is the best card in the pack,
Yes. So
right?
yeah. So I'll break down the pack a little bit here myself. Yes, I do agree that the Nestor. I like to call the Aviasar the Nestor because it's nesting. But yes, it's I think it is the most powerful card. You also can get some echo like shenanigans in there too if you happen to. But I do agree with Grimfan that I do like taking static bolts early on in the draft because once you get multiples, they just start what's it called getting better. Correct? Like um, so like I would be deciding between those two cards, and then I would also consider like just kind of like a mini shout out would be the Elysian Stranger. Personally, I kind of lean towards strangers a little bit more early because it allows me to get that fixing. Because I like to get the fixing early, personally. We talked about that earlier when the interview questions with Grimfan that he doesn't really favor fixing earlier over a better card, but I feel that maybe it's my Magic drafting that I've always stuck to when I used to draft for Magic the Gathering is that early fixing opens up more possibilities later. But yes, I
I
wouldn't.
Wait,
think
wait.
that is
What
true.
formats? What formats were you drafting that
I was
you
gonna say
needed
that was
fixing
true
that
in
early?
Alara. That was true in Alara, like when you were like tricolor
Yeah,
potential
or
and
cube
but
or whatever if you're trying to go
yeah,
deep.
Oh well.
yeah, but I don't
Oh, sorry. The sets that I
or
was drafting
Kanzi
like competitively, like or
Or
at least like
cons,
trying to get
yes.
better at, like being competitive with the draft formats were like Konzatark here. So like you were having those like multicolor like, uh, what's it called? Was it morphs and stuff like that? So you could pick up like the early was it tri lands and like dual lands, and then you'll be able to take like a lot of morphs and then morph them later. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I can agree with you on drafting those types of strategies, but since they've done a lot to try to push two colors in draft,
yes, most
for
definitely.
me it's at least in this game for me the fixing is really good, it's really important, and it's actually even important to take some two color fixers if you have a deck that's starting like ours. Like imagine if we take the static bolt and then we get past a couple gorgons that require shadow primal, and maybe we get a cabal countess that requires double shadow, and then all of a sudden we get past this like random crazy thunderstrike dragon, right? Let's just say that happens, and now we need triple primal on turn 6. All of a sudden Felon Stranger becomes a really legit pick, like a
Mm-hmm.
really good card for our deck, because it makes sure we hit our bloodcasters, it makes sure that we get one primal closer to our dragon, and it makes sure that we are able to cast those Gorgons at some point in the game. So on color fixing is actually really good in this draft format as well. Honestly, one of the things I was going to say is that this draft format is like super deep. It was
Oh
in
yeah.
closed beta too. So
Yeah,
so yeah,
it's
for
a lot.
sure, I could see taking a Legion Stranger here, but I think you'd be crazy to take it over the powerful Legion card or the Static Bolt. I think that those are both much better.
Oh yeah.
One thing I want to
Oh.
point out, one thing I do want to point out, with the difference between Magic and Eternal drafts is that you get to look at cards that wheel in Magic,
That's,
and that's extremely important because you
Oh,
can,
that
for
is true.
example, take a more powerful card or take the fixing and you can take the fixing and expect a card to wheel if you're reading the draft, you're reading the draft correctly, right?
Yeah.
So that is something that is much different because you'll never see these cards again, right?
Yes, that
Well,
is
you
hey,
might.
correct.
take that Static Bolt, Lamelle. I want to see what the fourth card is.
All right. Sorry. Which one? Take
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Static Bolt. I
Take
just want
static
to
bolt.
see.
All right.
You
Let's go.
just want to see. All
All
right.
right.
Do we get the second next static bolt? Oh no. All
No,
right.
we didn't. But all right.
Sunnyvale,
Really,
man, Sunnyvale, Snowslinger, he's so high on Snowslinger. I can see it though. He loves Snowslinger.
this is a good example of what you're talking about. Here, I might actually consider the
Take the
Felon Banner.
banner. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I think Slinger's fine, but I
Mhm.
think that it's slightly better than a Stranger if you already have your on color fixing. If you don't have your on color fixing or even your off color fixing, then I would actually take a Stranger over a Snow Slayer because I think the effect is good but not amazing. I think it's just fine. So
Okay.
here I would actually probably take the banner, just to, or maybe the Recon Stranger too, in case we got like a smuggler stash or something.
Oh yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
But the banner seems like it'd be good to me. Also, these color combination has one of the most playable champions, and having banners can really help with that. I actually messed that up the other day. I drafted a deck that I could have had two banners. I only had one. I was really sad about.
Aw.
So
But
Yeah.
all right, so we're gonna leave this pick a mystery for anybody that's watching. Um, if you guys want to see the rest of this draft, feel free to tune into my channel here in about the next 40 minutes or so. I'll be streaming on my own channel. Was it twitch.tv/, Lomeli underscore 18, like you see up here underneath my name. So if you guys want to see that, make sure to tune in there. But I'd like to thank Grimfan for taking the time out of his day and coming on the stream and giving us some very insightful knowledge about the Eternal Draft format. At least I feel that was very knowledgeable, that I'll be trying to implement in my own drafting. So Grim, for those out there that don't really know much on where to find you, where can they find you at?
just if you go to twitch.tv/Grimfan, you'll be able to find all my stuff. I don't do YouTube yet. I might upload some stuff at some point. It's just not something I've thought about really. And I've got a link to my blog on there, I think, and my Twitter is the same thing, just @Grimfan. I'm pretty. You can find me on Discord if you want to ever talk about decks or stuff, anything like that. I don't know. Just
Find me.
go to my Twitch channel. Yeah.
There you go. And then, all right, Grim, thank you for tuning in or coming on board. And that will be concluding the first episode of the Eternal Show. So thank you, all the viewers that we had today. Much appreciated for tuning in. I know that there is some schedule difficulty because I am on the West Coast, unfortunately. So I'm on the very end of the the uh, the time zones. But yes, we'll be uploading this video to YouTube. So if you guys are want to rewatch or catch this later, we'll be uploading each episode weekly to YouTube. But I'm Lomeli18. We also brought with the Overmaster. And anything you'd like to say,
Yo.
Overmaster, before we head out?
Um, I might stream occasionally. I have to get a second monitor again because my first monitor doesn't work anymore, or my second monitor doesn't work anymore. So I have to get another one. I might be able to stream like Magic or something like that, but I cannot stream Eternal with only one monitor, which is quite a silly thing about the game. But yeah, that'll be at slash
But
the Overmaster, twitch.tv/the Overmaster, or follow me on Twitch at, I believe it's the Overmaster. I don't even know.
but all right, guys. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Hope everyone has a good night, good day, good morning, wherever they are in the world. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Much appreciated, and see you guys next week. Have a good one.
Thank you guys.